Hello, welcome back to Learn Economia. Today we are going to discuss the Sen's social choice theory. Moving on to the roadmap of the discussion, we will start with the introduction, then we will move on to the context, evolution, and later we will see the assumptions of the theory. Then we will look on to the features and criticisms, and finally we will be concluding the session. To begin with the introduction, we could find that as far as social choice theory is concerned, it is actually making a profound contribution to the arena of not only economics but also other disciplines. So this will involve political science, this will involve philosophy and so on. Now let's see what is social choice. So whenever we say social choice, what we mean is the choice of society. Choice of society. Now there is a problem. What is the problem? The problem is that society itself is consisting of individuals. So we are having a group of people framing society. And whenever we say these people are different individuals who are different individuals, right? Different individuals. So it is this different individuals which will form a society. This will represent differences. Now, whenever we say social choice or choice of society, usually what we have to do is that we have to aggregate the preferences or choices of different individuals. So is it something that is easy? What do you think? Is it easy? Not at all, right? So to arrive at a collective decision for society when different members are holding different preferences is not an easy task. But different economists were actually trying to go for this aggregation problem and they were giving different interpretations. So let's talk about this topic in detail and we will be specifically looking on to the interpretation given by Amartya Sen. Okay, so that is called Sen's social choice theory. So let's see the context in which Sen was driven to the social choice theory. So in the very beginning, you could find that the idea of social choice was there even before Sen. This is what you have to understand. Never think that the idea of social choice itself is pioneered by Sen. No, it was introduced in the 18th century. This is what is something that we could understand. In the 18th century, we could have the idea of social choice theory, but later several other people and economists contributed to this particular idea of social choice. And finally, Sen was also making some contribution. So let's see how it happened. Okay. So anyway, we are just looking on to the aggregation of preferences. Aggregation of preferences of people to arrive at something called a collective welfare function, which is something that we call a social welfare function. Okay. So the idea is pioneered by Kenneth Arrow. Why? So here we are just focusing on to what was making Sen to come to the arena of social choice. So the driving factor that was making Sen to come to the social choice is an idea given by Kenneth Arrow. So Kenneth Arrow was talking about a very particular important kind of contribution, that is impossibility theorem. So we call it as Arrow's impossibility theorem. So what is it all about? A detailed description of Arrow's impossibility theorem is already done in one of our previous videos. I will be giving the link of the same in the description box so that you can refer to that and come back to that. Okay. So Kenneth Arrow was actually giving 5 different conditions. 5 conditions that need to be satisfied to make the social choice to represent individual preferences. So he was saying that such a social choice need to satisfy all these five conditions. Then only you can say that the social choice that we are having is actually representing the choice of all the individuals or individual choices, different individual choices. But in reality, this will not be satisfied. All these five conditions will not be satisfied simultaneously. You might be violating at least one condition. So that kind of impossibility is actually casting a pessimistic shadow on decision making scenario. Now, what Sen was doing was that Amartya Sen, you might be knowing that he's a Nobel laureate. Amartya Sen was actually challenging the idea of impossibility. So he challenged the idea of impossibility, and he was diving into the depth of this impossibility to see some ways to overcome this impossibility. So, to some extent, you can say that Arrow's impossibility theorem is being extended by Sen, and this is what is actually later came to be known as Sen's idea of social choice theory, because Sen's idea of social choice theory is having a driving factor, that is Arrow's impossibility theorem, or it is the impossibility that is explained by Arrow in Arrow's impossibility theorem that was making Sen to make a major contribution, a novel contribution here. That is why we are saying that the Sen's contribution here is an extension of one given by Arrow. Okay, so let's see more about Sen's contribution now. Before that, it's very important to see how was the idea of social choice evolved over time. I was telling you in the very beginning that Sen was not the actual person who introduced the idea of social choice. The idea of social choice had its roots in the writings of Condorcet and Botta in the 18th century. Now, what this person Arrow was doing was that Arrow was just reviving this idea. Okay, so Arrow revived this idea with his impossibility theorem in the 1950s. Later, Sen came and he attacked the Arrow's impossibility theorem with his social choice theory, and he was giving all his ideas. Sen was giving all his ideas, all his interpretations regarding social choice theory in his famous work Collective Choice and Social Welfare, published in the year 1970. Now, I told you in the very beginning that Sen was trying to find some possibility. No, he was wanted to replace impossibility with possibility, right? So for that, what he was doing was that he was trying to relax some of the conditions, strict, stringent condition given by Arrow. So what Sen was doing, he was actually trying to relax, he was trying to eliminate, he was trying to release some of the stringent condition given by Arrow. For the same reason, what Sen was believing in was that it is very important to move beyond ordinal preferences. So what is ordinal preferences? We will go for ranking, right? Ranking. So Sen believed that just going for ordinal preferences will not be all easy to arrive at a possibility scenario. What we have to do is that we have to move beyond that. Just sticking on to ordinal preferences will not do anything. You have to move beyond, more beyond that. So what should you do? Sometimes you need to measure the strength of ordinal preferences. Sometimes you need to go to the measure the strength of preferences itself. So what you have to do, why are you measuring the strength? You need to go for something called interpersonal comparisons. So for example, just assume that a society is consist of two persons, person A and person B. And if there is a new policy implemented in society, the policy will impact A as well as B. This is what we expect. So we have to see how was this policy increasing the welfare of A and how was this policy increasing the welfare of B. who was getting more welfare and who was getting less welfare. So we are comparing the interpersonal utility levels. So Sen was talking about that. Sen was saying that sometimes we need that. So if we go for that, definitely we will be able to come out of this impossibility. We can have something called possibility. And Sen was telling one more thing. He was saying that conventionally speaking, we just believe that, or we just assume that whenever income of a person increase, that will definitely increase his welfare. This is the only idea we know. But is that everything? Can you just say that income alone or material wealth alone or your subjective utility alone will determine your welfare? No. This is what is told by Sen. Why? Because there have been several other ethical and philosophical considerations that you have to take into account. For example, you have to talk about your freedom. You have to talk about the justice that is available in the society. You have to talk about your capacities and capabilities. Only when you are given a fair setting, only when you are given freedom to make a choice, only when you are allowed to have a life in a society where there is justice operating, only when you are able to ensure that you can exercise your capacities and capabilities, then only you can say that you are getting some welfare. So just by having income in your hand, no, you cannot ensure that your welfare is increased. So you have to bring some other considerations also here. This is what is told by Sen. So this was an attack on welfareism, because the conventional idea of welfareism was just sticking on to material wealth. Okay. Now let's see the assumptions of Sen's social choice theory. Sen was always believing that people are rational. So the decision makers are rational in the system. Whether they are making decision regarding their profit or utility, or whether they are making decisions for the entire society. For example, voting to select a leader for the entire society, they will be making rational choices. This is an assumption that Sen was holding. Secondly, Sen was believing that people are diverse. So never think that people are just homogeneous. No, we have to talk about a heterogeneous setting. So we have to definitely consider the differences that will be coming when we consider different people. Different people are having different income, different people are having different likes, different dislikes, different habits, different choice, preference, and so on. So whenever we talk about social preferences or social choice, we have to bring all these differences and diversities into consideration. This is the next assumption used by Sen. Also, he was talking about the importance of welfare. So only when there is welfare, there is progress. Without welfare, you cannot say that the society is really progressive. So whenever some government is coming with some policy, it should ensure that it is catering to the welfare of the people. It is increasing the welfare of the people, isn't it? So these are some of the assumptions used by Sen. Now let's see the features of Sen's social choice theory. The first and foremost thing that you have to bring is information broadening. What is it all about? So if you remember, I told you in the very beginning that Sen was saying that if you keep all these restrictive conditions, he was telling Arrow that if you keep all these restrictive conditions, definitely you cannot convert this impossibility to a possibility. If you want to have a possibility, what to do is that you have to collect information. Collect as much as information as possible regarding something called interpersonal comparisons. So you have to compare different people based on the strength of their preference, based on the utility levels that they are getting, based on the welfare levels that they are getting as a result of a policy change. So once you have this information broadening, definitely to some extent or to a great extent, you can come out of this impossibility. And again, Sen was telling that don't stick on to material welfare or material wealth that you're having to determine your well-being. Well-being is having something great to be considered. And what are these great things? He was bringing some ideas like capabilities and functioning. So as far as functionings are concerned, he was talking about doings and beings that a person will be having, or that a person is actually valuing more. And also he was talking about capabilities. What are capabilities? The real opportunities and freedoms that a person is getting. So once you're given more freedom to make your own decisions, you will be so happy, right? You will be so well impressed, and your welfare will increase, your satisfaction level will increase, your well-being will increase. And what about your functionings? If somebody is not obstructing your doings, what will happen? So you will be so happy, right? Your welfare will again increase. So Sen was saying that welfare and well-being is not just all about your income alone. It is beyond your income. Beyond your income. So he was talking about a scenario where a person, a very rich person, and a rich person knows cycling. He knows cycling and he likes cycling very well. Okay, so we talk about a rich person, and this rich person knows cycling, knows cycling, he likes cycling, he likes cycling. Just assume that he has a cycle. He has a cycle, but he cannot do cycling. Why? Because he has no legs. So can he exercise his freedom? Can he make use of opportunities in front of him? No, because he is not having the ability to do cycling, though he's rich. So Sen was talking about these things, these kind of contexts. He was saying that in this case, the person is having a low welfare because he is not able to do what he wished to do, right? Though he is rich, he cannot do what he wished to do. So what will happen to his welfare? His welfare is not increasing, instead it's coming down, though he's rich. So your actual welfare and well-being is influenced by a lot many other factors apart from your income. I'm not saying that your income is not a factor affecting your welfare. Definitely your income is a factor that will affect your welfare, but along with that there are many other factors as well. That's what is told by Sen. Now Sen was, for the same reason, criticizing the conventional idea of welfareism. The conventional idea of welfareism was just giving emphasis to material wealth. Material wealth. If material wealth increase, your welfare will increase. That was how they believed it. The people who were supporting the idea of welfareism believed it. But Sen was attacking it. Sen was saying that no, that was not all about the actual idea of welfareism. Actual idea of welfare. Welfareism school might be talking about that, but the actual idea of welfare should definitely include the right of the person, rights of the person, the liberties of the person, that is freedom of the persons. Why? This is very important. Again, the processes and methods used by persons to arrive at an outcome. So what is outcome? The result. Result. So all these are also playing some role in the society. So if you're neglecting all these kind of things, how can you ensure that the society is having better welfare or no welfare at all? How can you assess the welfare of the society in practical setting? Because whenever you make a choice, definitely the rights that you are having, the freedom that you are able to exercise, the processes through which you can actually arrive at this result, all these will play a role. And if you're neglecting all these from looking onto the idea of social welfare, how can you come with the real idea of welfare of the society? That is definitely a problem. So Sen was saying that whenever we make a an understanding regarding the society's welfare by aggregating the preferences of people. You have to look onto the rights, liberties, processes, etc., etc. So, like this, several factors are there, which too should be given equal emphasis along with material wealth. Okay. Again, Sen was saying that it is very, very important to go for public deliberations. What is this public deliberation? So he was talking about the requirement to go for open meetings, open discussions. Why? Because we need to have a positional objectivity, right? So objectivity from subjectivity, from subjective preferences. So we have to move from subjective preferences to arrive at something called an objective, and for that there should be a forum for having scrutiny, for having discussions, deliberations, meetings. So people should be going for negotiations, sometimes they will be going for bargaining, whatever. So people should come together and make a joint decision to have some subjectivity or subjective preferences to be converted into something called objectivity. So he was talking about that as well. Now, so in this sense, you could find that sense interpretations to social choice theory is something that is novel. But there are several criticisms to sense interpretations. So you talk about, Sen was talking about interpersonal comparison, but do you think that in practical life setting, this is possible? Not at all. Do you think that you can measure utility of a person? Measure and compare utility? Is it possible? Not at all, right? You cannot. You cannot, because there are no scientific measures which could accurately capture the utility enjoyed by a person to compare it with the utility of another person. This is impossible. So this is one of the point of criticism that you're having here. Now, there is an idea of capability that is used by Sen. So he was saying that a person is rich. Sorry. A person knows cycling. A person is having a cycle, but he has no legs to do cycling. But do you think that always capabilities would be like this? Capabilities or lack of capabilities, always like this? No. This will be changing in different settings. Changing in different settings. And Sen was not able to give different interpretations everywhere. So that was one of the problem again associated with sense social choice theory. Also, what about information? So Sen was saying that we have to collect a lot of information regarding interpersonal comparison. Do you think that it is that easy? Collection of information itself is a tedious task. It is a matter of time, it is a matter of effort, and definitely you will be missing a lot of details every time. Never think that you can collect everything. So collecting all the information in a particular setting is impossible. That is yet another problem associated with sense interpretation of social choice theory. And also, even if you're collecting as much of information as possible, in certain cases there would be something called indecisiveness, and this would also affect your society's welfare or social choice badly. Okay, so these are again problems associated with sense interpretation of social choice theory. So in short, what you could find is that Sen was actually doing some great wonders. He was actually providing a very, very novel, nuanced, and ethically informed framework for analyzing the choices of a society. He was trying to replace impossibility with possibility. This was what he was doing. So in that sense, he was doing some great task. We cannot say that he was doing nothing. He was doing something great. He was moving definitely out of the borders. He was thinking so much to reframe the idea of social choice, because he was bringing some novel ideas, some practical ideas like justice, liberty, freedom, capability, apart from material wealth, to understand the idea of social choice, welfare, etc. So this is something great. But remember, the theory is having a lot of criticisms, problems, limitations. But still, you need to understand that the theory given by, or the interpretation given by Sen, made use of the idea of justice, the idea of practical elements, which definitely reshaped how different stakeholders like economists, philosophers, and policymakers consider these ideas like welfare, justice, possibility of collective action, etc. Whenever they come with their decisions, policies that influence the society. So, what we could find is that Sen has made a lot by giving some contribution, great contribution to the arena of social choice. Though it is having a lot of limitations, still you have to value it, because as far as evaluation is concerned, it is something great. That's it. Okay, so hope you could understand the idea of social choice theory given by Amartya Sen. That's all. Now, to tell you, you can download Learn Economy app to get free previous year question papers and answers, free study materials, live as well as recorded classes, and free MCQ based weekly test. I'll be giving the link of the same in the description box. Also, you can join our free Telegram community. For this also, I'll be giving the link in the description box. That's all for today. You can like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more such videos. Thank you.